Welcome to New Game Plus, a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
Nolan.
And this is episode 320.
320, and Nolan did the Batman voice because he just watched that movie.
320 Blaze It?
And on top of that, this is a director's episode!
Episode.
Before we get there, it was announced just a few days ago that Game Freak is developing and Nintendo will be releasing the newest entry in the mainline Pokemon series.
Arceus.
Really?
Okay.
No, that's already happened.
What is that,
They
though?
will.
Pokemon Magenta?
Not far off, honestly.
Okay, I see what you're saying. They're going to come out with the two versions and it's a mainline. All right, what is it called?
If I gave y'all enough time, Kenny would guess the colors. But
God.
actually,
Wait, that's colors?
We should talk about these colors because it's Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet.
Okay.
No, I feel like those colors are too similar.
What is Scarlet look like?
Scarlet and
Scarlet's
Violet are in the same
red.
family, brother.
No,
like,
Violet is purple.
Violet's purple. Scarlet is orangish.
Will you look at me right
Bright
now?
red.
Oh, first of all, it's not orangish.
It's bright
but
red.
Look at me. Correct. Red and purple are in a similar family. If we were going opposites like red, blue, then we would do something like Scarlet Azure.
But no one in their right mind would call a game Pokemon Azure.
Hold on,
Yes,
I cannot
Scarlet
believe that Kenny is
Cobalt.
not in my idiot. Look at me.
No, they're different enough.
No, they are not.
Yes, they are.
are
They
in the
most
same.
certainly are.
Y'all both think this? Y'all are insane.
I
Yeah.
didn't until
It's
you're
not-
so passionately disagree with it.
It's not
I just thought it was
Scarlet and
obvious.
Maroon. We're not doing shades of blue here.
Scarlet and Violet, I get it. They are different colors. I'm not saying they are synonymous with one another, but they are in the same general family. On a wheel, they're in the same quadrant.
Red and yellow are similar.
I mean,
They're-
that's a wrong take.
They're
but
no, they're
Wrong
next to
take.
each other on the wheel.
Oh
They're next
my
to each other on the wheel.
gosh. Well, listen.
Just
they're
that's your
visually
argument.
Distinct enough. They're
love it.
visually
This-
distinct enough, and they sound complementary. It makes sense to do the two words that end
Too
in
similar.
similar ways. Yeah, I'm all for it.
So we're all in agreement that they're too similar.
No.
These are the first installments in the 9th generation of the Pokemon video game series. They're set to be released in late 2022.
Soon.
Before I get your opinion on that, because I doubt you have much of an opinion, Nolan, Kenny, what are the last Pokemon games you played leisurely?
Ooh.
Mainline
wow.
or just anything.
Give me mainline. Well, since we're talking about mainline here,
Yeah,
let's talk
mainline.
mainline.
Mine's old.
No,
Actually,
it's not. Because do you know what mine is?
What?
Red.
Is
Yeah, that's
leisure
what-
not part of not things we've played for the
Kenny,
podcast?
Leisure
This is your
is
full-time
I'm gonna go
job.
sit down on my time and play Pokemon. That's what he means.
I
So
think,
never.
I think red for me too.
Okay.
If we're not counting Go, then
We're not
yeah,
counting Go.
red.
Go's a weird.
Yours is
One
gonna be
anyways.
like Sapphire.
Mine's actually the new one that came out on 3DS, I think, or a new 3DS. That was not Sword and Shield. I didn't play those. The generation
Silver?
before that, I don't know.
Sun and Moon,
Uh,
Black and White,
Sun and Moon
Look at
sounds.
Kenny go.
No, I played Black.
Turquoise and Cobalt.
I played Black and White. I
Exactly.
think I played Sun and Moon, which I think was
Exact-
remake of Ruby and Sapphire.
All
Oh,
I'm saying
no.
is Sun and Moon are opposites. Black and White are opposites. Scarlet and Violet are not opposites.
Call up the Pokemon president and say, "Listen here, you need to change it to Azure."
No, that'd be worse. It's good.
What color is Azure? Azure. Azure.
It's some
Is it
form of
brown?
blue, isn't it?
Some form
I
of
think
blue.
it's a
All
blue.
right, so Nolan, it's been a while for you, and it's been a long while for me and Kenny since we've leisurely played
Yeah.
a Pokemon mainline title. Are you interested in a new open world Pokemon game, or are you are you over it?
I'm over it. No, I'm not interested in that in the
Really?
slightest. Yeah, no.
I'm not surprised by that.
That one
I
surprises me.
when Sword and Shield got announced, which was the first like open world, or like it was the newest. I think that was the first Pokemon mainline that was on a home console, not a handheld. Maybe that didn't interest me. So no, I guess it's just not my thing anymore. I don't like it.
The thing that I am, as a non-Pokemon like hardcore enthusiast, the thing that I am not upset about, but just I look and literally every year they're pumping out a new Pokemon title.
Something,
and every other year or whatever they're poking out a new
Wow.
a new mainline title. And people had a lot of negative things to say about Arceus. I think there's probably some good things, but also some negative things, graphically at least. It doesn't seem like they're putting in the TLC needed. It just seems like they know that they've got a cash cow and they just put something else out and they're going to get money off of it.
Yeah. Ubisoft.
And so it's not Ubisoft.
They do the same thing with Assassin's Creed, was my point.
Oh,
Go ahead with your segue.
Disgusting. I'm not there yet, which
right.
And
sure
I guess I will just get there. No, I'm not. I was just trying to talk about Pokemon with you guys. But none of us obviously can speak on the matter because
Go for it.
I already did and kind of messed it up.
Just commit.
None of
Power
us
through.
can speak on the matter, much like Princess Peach. In this week's
Holy.
Retro Game of the Week, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga.
Overview.
First off, we would like to welcome Jay to the show.
Woo,
Jay,
woo.
welcome. We're so glad that you're here.
Welcome.
You are, I believe, relatively, in the grand scheme of things, new to the NGP community. Could you tell us a little bit about your arrival to said community?
I think it was on the episode Little Samson. I literally discovered the show with the Little Samson episode, and I remember pretty clearly that you guys no, literally it was on Friday, and as I listened, I literally heard you guys saying that you would be hosting your special episode 300. Well, where we would have to pitch our game for you to, pick literally in randomly among these suggestions.
That was a fun episode.
Yeah, I basically joined I joined the Discord the same day, exactly the same day, just so I could be there for first and ready to, offer a game. And I've been following the show since then.
Okay, so you will have to forgive us for our poor memory, but when you came on and you pitched a game, what game was it that you pitched for us to play?
It was Wanderers from East.
There's no way I would have
Okay.
remembered that.
I would not have
We
remembered
get
that.
so many pitches that day. I don't know.
I don't even
I was
know what that is.
I was literally the first. I think I was the first one to pass on the episode.
Well, you
Oh.
didn't bring Wanderers of East of Eden to us to play today. You instead, out of all of the retro video games, picked Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. Why did you pick this one?
I really wanted to pick something special, and I know that for a very long time, Mario and Luigi was a very beloved series on Nintendo portable systems. Sadly, the studio shut down, and I'm kind of hoping that people will discover the series and pick up more in popularity, and more for people asking and begging for Nintendo to resurrect the game, the series.
Well,
Weirder
also
things
what I
have
believe.
happened.
Hmm?
Stranger things have happened as a result of people sharing their opinions on our show. We definitely overvalue how much influence we have in the gaming community, but we love that you think the same thing.
Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga came out in 2003. It was developed by Alpha Dream. Alpha Dream guys made Hamtaro, which we played on the show. They made a few Hamtaro games, if not all of them. I don't know. But in 2003, Nintendo, who published the game, hired them to make Superstar Saga, which is okay. Mario RPG we played on the show. Paper Mario is sort of a spiritual successor to the Mario RPG game. They never made a sequel, to a lot of people's disappointment. That was a huge success, and it was a very different cut of Mario. But Paper Mario carried the torch in some ways and really reinvented a lot of the other mechanics. Paper Mario's still around. They're still making that series. But in 2003, they decided to do another RPG series for the Mario titles called Mario and Luigi. That's like the I mean, that's the title of all kinds of Mario games, but that's like the series that they wanted to make that's even separate from Paper Mario. And they're very similar, but they're also very different, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty of all that. It is a Game Boy Advance title. I think that was already mentioned. Best console. Not best console, but one of
best handheld. Best handheld console.
Best handheld console, if we're not counting Switch, because Switch is default the best console, I think. But we all love Game Boy Advance. Every time that it shows up on the podcast, we're just in awe for many reasons. So I'm really curious about this one because of that. It's not a lot of the Game Boy Advance titles we've played have been I think not mainline kind of games. There was that one anime RPG that we played that we all thought was amazing. We have played a Castlevania that's a mainline, but typically Game Boy Advance titles are kind of niche. But this one's a Mario game. That's the biggest franchise. I loved this game growing up. I planned on playing it this week on my Game Boy Advance, but my SP is broken, guys. It doesn't charge anymore. And this is the second Game Boy Advance SP I've had that has had that problem. It's the battery or the actual port where you plug it in. It's not charging for me, and so I'm super upset.
That's tragic.
Emulation exists.
Yes, thankfully, I'm obviously still able to play it, but I'm going to need to investigate that issue for future Game Boy games.
Now, since it is an RPG, I would assume it's got more of a robust story than maybe other Mario games. A lot of Mario games, Princess Peach is in a different castle, Bowser has stolen her, and you've got to go and rescue her. But this is slightly different.
This is, it's different. So the story is an ambassador from the Bean Kingdom, which is a neighboring kingdom to the Mushroom Kingdom, comes to bring Peach a gift, peace offering of some sort. But it's a bomb, actually. It's a terrorist attack. And Cackletta steals Peach's voice. Bowser, who was on his way to steal Peach, this, standard everyday kidnapping that he does. That's what he do.
Yeah.
He gets there a little late, and she has no voice, and instead she has been given an explosive vocabulary, the game says, where she's speaking in bombs, and it's blowing up, and he says, I can't steal her in this state. She'll ruin my castle when she opens her mouth. So in order to be the proper villain that he needs to be, he's going to have to team up with Mario and Luigi and go track down Cackletta and get back Peach's voice. I think that's a great spin on the Mario setup. It's very self-aware and so funny. I love that setup.
I only have one issue about this series. They've kept bullying Luigi all the time.
I love it.
Luigi is the best actor. I'm sorry, but Luigi is the true hero of this story.
You can be the best and still be bullied. Those are not exclusive. So, that's some of the best humor in the game. So, I think that is important to bring up. Luigi is a part of this thing. Luigi didn't want to go save Princess Peach or get her voice back. He didn't want to have anything to do with it, and he tried to stay home, but they forced him into being a part of the journey.
And when you say Luigi, you mean the green one?
The green guy?
It's the mustachio one. The mustachio.
The taller guy? Yeah, I love that. It's so funny.
It's so funny.
Gameplay.
We have a completely biased guess. If you guys didn't hear it, he's a Luigi boy through and through. I'm Team Luigi. We got to talk about this game and how it works, but before we do, we got to know where everybody's loyalties lie.
That's what I mean.
That's where we
This is the
Mario,
most important
obviously.
thing to establish before we talk about the rest of the game.
It's not
Nolan said
Luigi for
Mario.
me. There's no way. Like, he is never willing to save the day. His jump looks stupid. I don't like the color green. His voice is annoying. It's funny to make fun of him. I like Mario.
I'm sorry, but Luigi might be a coward, but he is probably one of the bravest characters in the whole license.
I
He
do
is
like
always scared, but he is always trying to do his best to fulfill the shoes of the little brother of the superstar Mario.
Is he younger? Is that confirmed?
Honestly, it's really.
I think it's implied.
He's
Seems
little.
pretty clear to me.
Here, listen. Okay, so we've got a Mario and Nolan, we've got a Luigi and Kenny, we've got a Luigi and Jay, and I'm a Yoshi boy. Can I?
And that's
do that?
not an option. Don't Kenny the
Well,
question.
All right, you can say Yoshi boy. Luigi wins.
Which, by the way, does Yoshi show up in this game at all?
Yes.
Okay,
I didn't remember, but Jay knows.
of course Jay knows.
Okay,
There's basically a whole cinema, a whole theater filled with Yoshis.
In this game?
I still don't remember
and
that.
you have to feed them a
All right,
very special fruit. Just
Spoiler.
for
It's probably
Yeah.
beans. Okay, the thing that makes this game unique is that you are controlling both Mario and Luigi.
Gasp.
And the GBA has very limited controls.
2 buttons,
Well,
guys.
you've got 4 buttons. You've got more. You've got an A and a B. You've got a left shoulder and a right shoulder, and then probably a start, maybe even a select. So
Still
there's a few
impressive.
there. Oh yes, it is because you mainly have 2 buttons, A and B, and with those buttons you control the brothers distinctly and differently. A controls Mario. B.
Yeah, but simultaneously. There's a lot of games. No, that's important to point
I know
out.
it
because
is,
there's a
but
lot
you
of
had to
games-
finish my line first.
You weren't getting there. I had to
He
jump
sped
in
you up.
with B and make it clear what was actually going on. Because it's not impressive that you control 2 characters. We control 2 characters in games all the time. It's impressive that with just 2 buttons you do that at the same time. Crazy.
You're pulling a Luigi there, but you are controlling them both simultaneously in and out of battle.
And of course, Luigi in the overworld is always on the A button. Always. Yes.
I mean,
always.
you swap them.
If you're playing like Jay, yeah.
You can swap the leader of the
Gotcha.
party. The party. That's always 2 people. Yeah. So that is the most impressive and interesting thing that's different from Paper Mario, different from Mario RPG in this series, and one that immediately drew me in as a kid. Because in the overworld, yeah, like Dustin said, you do both battle and out of battle, and outside of battle, it's a lot of puzzles. I mean, they're pretty straightforward most of the time, but they're very creative, and they have a lot of fun with the different items that you get as the characters, and yeah, swapping places. Even at the beginning when they introduce the game, you get your passport taken, and you need Mario's picture and Luigi's picture, and so you swap who's leading, stand in the place, and then it's like, definitely don't press up, down, left, or right, A or B to make faces. We need you to
Funny
smile
moment.
for the picture.
Sure.
So like they have a lot of fun with who is in control, and then how the characters interact with each other by pressing
Also,
A and B.
Also about the pictures, I think if I remember correctly, depending on where you are in the game, the position that Mario and Luigi will, the poses that they will take while taking photos will change.
Oh, that's
Like
fun.
based on what pictures you took.
Oh.
Yes.
That's great. There's so many
And-
little attention to detail
Yes.
moments like that.
And since we are in the beginning of the game, I have to say one thing. This game probably had one of the best, I guess, tutorial I've played on a game in the same style. You had
Yeah.
the introduction with the battle with Bowser, which gave you the basics on how to control your characters while in the middle of battle. And right after that, as soon as you reach the Bean Bean Kingdom, you have a mini game to which you can go back and get some beans, some extra beans if you want to, get some good, delicious coffee.
I'm making coffee with them green beans.
Yeah, boy. But yes, basically, what is really cool is that they know that you will struggle with death. With
Don't we
at
all?
first,
as we do.
At first, they know that at first it will be hard to dodge to dodge attacks. So basically, they're asking you to play some jumping rope puzzle, a jumping rope
Yeah,
mini
that's
game,
true.
just so you could learn how to dodge properly with both characters.
Yeah,
will say,
because there
I
is a
had a
delay
love-
there.
I had a love-hate relationship with the tutorial because that was one tutorial and it was fine, but it felt like the first 2 hours of this game was tutorial because and every time you get a new item or you get the hammer, you've got new tutorials again, and you need those, but some of them are not even skippable. Like sometimes you can say yes, no. Those are the two options if you want the tutorial. But then some of them are not even skippable. If you say no, you still get thrown into a tutorial. And I feel like all along, like for the first 2 hours of this game, I was going through one tutorial after another.
I'm in Jay's camp here. I felt like they brought him along one at a time, and it was nice. You got to remember, Mario and Luigi, it has sort of a universal appeal. They're gonna make sure that a kid picking up and playing this game isn't going to be completely lost and knows what they're doing. They really tried to cater to make this easy but accessible, and they did a great job of introducing your characters. We talked about the two character interactions though, and early on I thought this was going to be super annoying. Mario and Luigi at the same time felt really gimmicky. It's the game, but it felt pointless. But very quickly you learn that these characters don't just do their own thing at the same time, they also cooperate.
Yes.
And so it's very cool that you have unique and yet distinct skills both in battle and out of battle for using the brothers together. There's the whole like your super powered attacks are cooperative attacks, and they're based on kind of each character and the things that they do. And then they also give you utility in moving around the map, jumps, and with this sort of spin float that gets you to other places of the map that are also the brothers interacting together. And the whole system made a lot more sense once that piece of things got revealed. It's very much about the two of them working together to solve all of these hurdles that are placed in their way.
This is actually one of the things I enjoyed the most in that series, is that everything you do, everything they do, they will always have to collaborate. There is something that was missing in the game after this one, was, in my opinion, which was a big part of the charm of the original game. When you get inside the inventory, the brothers keep literally fighting for a spot in the middle of the inventory. Basically, this could literally tell you everything. They are they are competing in a way, but they also share a massive bond. They can't do anything. They can do quite a lot of things alone by themselves, but they are at their best as soon as they are together.
Jay,
Yep.
that's good.
Preach.
And that's the same. That's really the same with New Game Plus. Like there's things that like we can do individually, but it's when we come together where we really are superstars. I loved most when the brothers were working in tandem in battle. I love it. I love the timed button presses to make sure that they're doing that. I love that. I disliked it most in the platforming in this game. I was frustrated over and over again. It's a simple like swap between your different abilities, but the more you get, your regular jump, your helicopter, your hammer, you start to get more and more, and you change those with the L and the R. but there were a number of times I would get stuck with Luigi jumping on Mario's head or vice versa. I would get stuck with and it was so frustrating to try to platform eventually. That's where I felt like the brother mechanic was at its weakest. It's still creative, but it's where I had so much trouble with it and never got really good at it.
User error.
Did you know that you can go back to basic jumps as soon as you press L and R
At the
both
same
at
time.
once?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
No.
it's convenient. It's a nice
Yes.
quality of life because you don't have to cycle.
Also, yes, very. But they also fixed this issue in the 3DS remake.
Oh, they fixed
On
it.
the-
So something was
Yeah.
broken?
No,
No,
it
well,
wasn't
we're not
broken,
to
admitting
but
fix something, it has to be broken.
they refined it.
There we go.
Interesting.
They refined
Changing
Good.
words.
Basically,
choice.
instead of pressing L and R just to you could still press L and R to change your actions, but depending on which actions you had to do, you could just use the touchscreen to pick every single moves you wanted.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
nice.
So if you want
That's
to
real
use
nice.
Firehand, whatever.
Fire
If
hand,
you
yeah.
wanted to use your hands, you could just press on the screen. If you wanted to go to use the jump button, you could again press on the screen.
Yeah, that's
It
super
was-
nice. I
Yes.
I hadn't played that version of it, but I don't know. In this one, I never back then and today didn't feel like that was a huge issue. Like,
Really?
yeah,
I know
I-
Benny
neither.
struggled.
I struggled a
neither.
little. I struggled a little at first, but it started to become pretty intuitive
And
as I did it
also-
more and more.
I'm kind of opposite Dustin. I of course like the battle tandem stuff that you do, but I like the outside of battle cooperation maybe a little more because while the puzzles and the platforming is again pretty straightforward and usually pretty apparent, it's really creative and funny. Like the hammer's my favorite, first of all, because number one, you get the chance to be, or Mario and Luigi get the chance to be the Hammer Bros for once instead of the real Hammer Bros. And hitting Luigi into a slot in the ground and turning him into a surfboard to surf,
Yes.
that's stupid and great. And the fact that they went there, I'll take that all day. Like, and I don't know. I really, really enjoy the hammer mechanics and the spinny mechanic outside of combat.
This game, just the surfboard thing, is a perfect example on how the Mario and Luigi series was, in my opinion, an amazing game version of a great Saturday morning cartoon. The
How so?
soundtrack was
Totally has that vibe.
the soundtrack always gave you some massive energy. Always they I think most of the time they were pretty good at giving you the feels on where you were. You really wanted to be with them. You could literally feel the bond between the characters. The humor was the slapstick humor sometimes was absolutely perfect. Visually, this game looked. I'm sorry, but this looked like a TV cartoon. It shouldn't. The graphics on Superstar Saga shouldn't be that good on the GBA, and yet, well,
Yeah, it was
did
pretty
it.
tight what they put together. They really did. But it was tight too in its game design kinds of elements too. I know we talked about some of these like fight scenes where you're doubling up and some of that stuff, but there are RPG elements of this game we haven't talked about. You have normal inventory management, and we'll go through some of those items. Some of that stuff's pretty RPG routine, but I loved how they did the stats and the leveling up. One, I loved that you had distinct characters that did have slightly different, not wildly different, but slightly different strengths and weaknesses. But then I loved too that you could customize that with those like bonus points. Because if you wanted to lean into one character being one way or another and give them a little bit of like role playing as to how you see the characters, you could, or you could, do whatever you wanted, but you weren't going to mess it up. Sometimes when you're assigning points, if you don't know what you're doing, it can be overwhelming. You accidentally max the wrong stat on somebody and then they're worthless. Here you got all your base stats that kind of automatically leveled up, and then you just got this like bonus. And even the randomness of it was kind of fun to customize how you wanted, but safely. I felt like that was a really nice compromise.
Especially when you notice that the bonus points, you can take the time and look where exactly you will get the biggest bonus. At every single levels, I would always focus on. I would always try to see which stat would give me a potential +5 as a bonus. You know, just taking the time to look and pick the right decision.
See what was being offered. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Or you could be like me. I think that's more efficient. But you could also be like, a mustache is a stat. Of course, I'm going to just power that up. Obviously.
Do you know what that stat is, Kenny?
I looked it up later, but at first I was like, I don't care what it does. This is what I'm leveling up.
It's a mix of luck and charisma.
Yeah. What would it do with charisma?
People like ability.
Everybody at the same time?
It's well trimmed.
No, basically the stat in the series tends to let you get better items.
It's luck,
and also better prices in stores.
One of the things that's important to talk about in the gameplay section before we leave it are the mini games, because there are a lot of mini games in this game. We talked about the jump rope one. Minecarts is another one that I hated. Jay, I know you had mentioned barrels earlier. Well, what was there any particular mini game that stood out to you, Jay? You can start, and then if there's any one that stood out to any of y'all as well.
I always really loved the little fungi down mini game.
Explain that one.
Basically, the first time you open the game, you open this mini game specifically, you have a little Gino telling you the rules of the game, and the game is pretty basic. All you have to do is to drop on the slots on each side. You have a platform that you need to angle left and right, just so all the items, mushrooms, bombs, all that stuff would get inside the slot into the wall. And your goal is to get as many points as possible by entering as much stuff as you can into these slots into the wall. It was very simple, but it was also, honestly, I really have issues finding my favorite mini games simply because they were always placed at a very, very good spot into the game just to give you a short break.
Sure. Any mini games that stood out to you, Kenny, Nolan?
No, I'll agree that the implementation of mixing it up with them was good. Well, no, I did have one that stood out, but it wasn't a favorite. The stupid border guard crossing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to talk about how many times it took me to jump rope my way into the Bean Bean Kingdom. It was we're just gonna say it was more than it should have been.
Kenny, I have to tell you, you're not the only one.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a lot of people.
A lot of people never played any Mario and Luigi games. Probably struggled their first time. I remember when I was a kid, I spent way too much time trying again and again.
Mine's not a proper minigame like the barrels or the jump rope. It's the timed jump boxes that you come across where Mario and Luigi like stand on opposite sides, and then you hit the box, and then it goes over to Luigi, and Luigi has to hit the box, and you have to time it, and it goes faster and faster and faster until it goes off screen. I really like those.
What's your ice score?
Oh, I don't know. Like, I have no idea. I don't remember. Not high.
Oh,
2.
Yeah. It's officially not a mini game, but there is something very cool that was in the Academy. Basically, there is a small section that makes you play. Well, that makes you play something very close to the original Donkey Kong.
Yep. That's fun.
You need to climb. You need to climb a sort of. Well, you need to climb a room while also dodging barrels.
Yeah, they do lots of shout outs to the roots of the series, and they're very good about putting that in the games and also in just like the awareness and the jokes. And it's
Yeah.
Nolan has said it, but it's a very self-aware game, very detail oriented, and just lot to it.
Aged.
I know we've talked about it a little bit, the humor, but I think humor is important to talk about when it comes to age, because sometimes humor doesn't age well, and then sometimes it ages like a fine brisked tea, and this one ages like a fine brisked tea, because we've talked about it, but in this game, the loving hatred towards Luigi gave me life. Like no one knew Luigi's name, and so that's a recurring joke that's really funny. You get these you get your hammers finally, and the creators say like, now you're playing with power, which is an iconic phrase there. All throughout this game there is humor with the character in particular, which we have not given her enough credit, but Fawful is one of the funniest
like
Nintendo
side villain
characters.
I think Fawful is a guy.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, Fawful.
Pardon. But like, yeah, that character
is a
great.
girl, but Fawful is a guy. I'm pretty
That
sure
makes
he
sense.
is a guy.
Hilarious character, funny character design,
And
absolutely
also
insane.
teaming up with Bowser is such a great setup for a Mario game. Like there have been a couple of other times that has happened in the series, but in 2003 that was like, what are we doing? And they lean into that with like every chance they get. Like we already mentioned, but the way Luigi gets sucked into the story is he gets trampled by Bowser's baddies when he's like, let's go, get on the ship, and so stupid, but like I think the humor lands well.
Yes, I think Luigi being forcefully dragged into the adventure is a recurring gag in the whole franchise. I haven't played the other in a very long time, but I'm pretty sure most of the time he is.
That's good.
It's so funny.
Yes.
Dustin, I know you love the like overt humor because it's there and it's funny, and I totally agree. So good. But what worked for me was the physical humor here, because the animations were top notch, and I literally live for Luigi's dance move when he's selecting like what to do in battle, where he like it's the funniest thing that's ever happened to me. And this game could be garbage, and I would still play it just to watch that animation, because it's funny in how it's written, but it also is so well put together. It looks good. I know Jay talked about the looks a little bit earlier, but this game, animations are top notch. Environments look great. It's beautiful, and yes, please.
I think where it excels is the
Also-
character design too. Like there are a lot of new characters introduced here, and they all have a great look and unique look. And the Beaming Kingdom stands out from the Mushroom Kingdom. I love the path that they took with the graphics here, and like looking back on it, because again I've played the game a lot in 2003 through 5. Looking back at it, it still stands out as like, what is this Mario title? This is so different, and I think different is really good in this case.
The Bean Kingdom is probably one of the most unique places in the whole series. It's also one of the reasons why I think that Superstar Saga is one of the best games. Outside of Mario and Luigi dancing, alright, I'm sorry. But yes, honestly, the Bean Kingdom was very unique, and sadly they did not visit that much. We didn't see beanish people that much.
Yeah.
Afterward, they did come back for Dream Team.
Is that the sequel to this game?
No, Dream Team is, I think, the 4th game in the franchise.
4th? Oh my gosh, I am uninformed. Wow.
Second is Partners in Time. 3rd is Bowser Inside Story. 4 is Dream Team, and 5 is Paper Jam.
I have
Also,
to play Partners in Time just on the principle of that name alone.
Gosh,
it's perfect.
Hey, the music, because it is, you've got enough Mario classics, but then you've also got some charming originals that are mixed in here. And did you know that the composer is the same composer from the entire Kingdom Hearts series?
No.
I
did
not know that.
That's great. I couldn't have told you that by listening to the music, but it makes sense because it is obviously high quality. And on Game Boy Advance, it just sounded good. It sounds like it shouldn't be on a handheld console. Again, we're like emulating it, but like still, you get that sense of what it sounded like coming out of the actual console. The sound design in general, it just sounded really high quality. And once again, I'm just like, man, GBA was like really, really good.
Honest,
I didn't.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right. Since you were talking about the music, am I the only one who got slapped really, really hard as soon as I reached the desert?
What do you mean?
The soundtrack in the desert was honestly, it had some very, very good vibes, and it's probably one of the sections where the music not varies, but where the music actually
it really fit with the tone of what they were going for.
Yeah.
And it was a standout. Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Anyway,
Jay, you had mentioned that the sequels, in fact, you just named them one after another. Are they as good as this one? Do they build on it, or do you like this one
That's a good
most
question.
out of this little series?
basically, this series is very dear to my heart. There is only, well, I'll be honest, I finished most of them. I believe that all of them are worth coming back. They all have their own strength. Partners in Time as time travel shenanigans. The only real issue with Partners in Time was the fact that Bromoose were now consumables.
Oh, that's too bad.
Odd.
Yeah, they came back on that decision in Bowser Inside Story, in which Fawful is the main bad guy. So
Dustin wants to play that
if
one.
you want more Fawful goodness, you can go to Bowser Inside Story.
Nice. Nice. So Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga was re-released for the Wii U's Virtual Console in 2014 and remade for the Nintendo 3DS as Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Minions in 2017. Today to play it, it's not the easiest, honestly. I mean, unless we're talking about emulation. You could buy a used copy for $27. I guess that's not too expensive. But if you want a new copy, that's $170. So Nolan, if you're looking for an extra $27, you can.
Hey, I'll take 20. No, I want to keep mine. I like it.
Well,
what's the question, Jay?
It's much more expensive than I thought. Anyway, I'm actually surprised.
Everything is.
Yes, well, honestly, even the loose cartridge cost me like $50.
Oh,
that was anyway. And since you were talking about the remakes, I was probably the only super excited person who was willing enough to go to the store very early and buy the remakes as soon as possible.
the only person at the midnight release.
Yeah. So we're,
Hey, what
I'm
are you
sure
here
not
for
the-
again?
I'm sure not the only one. If I was a huge fan, I would have
Sure,
gone early for the game as well. I mean, I'm getting I got Final Fantasy VII Remake as soon as I was able to. You know, it's
Well,
the same thing.
There is one very, very big difference about that, is that the remakes were released for a console that people were way, way too excited about abandoning. People gave up on the 3DS way too fast. As soon as the Switch came, people just decided that the console was dead. And now that Nintendo decided to stop making them and decided that they would stop supporting the console, people just found out that the console had an amazing collection of games. So now the 3DSs that are not being produced anymore have skyrocketed in value, and so did the games.
Tends to happen.
Which really, really pissed me off, because they killed the console just for 2 years later fight to to get the damn thing.
Nintendo gonna Nintendo.
That's true enough. There's no stopping Nintendo from doing what they do.
Final thoughts.
At the end of our episodes, we'd like to give a summarized thought of what our feelings are towards our retro game of the week, in this case, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. We'll begin with Kenny, and then we'll go Nolan, and then myself, and then we'll conclude with Jay, our guest's final thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I was really, really nervous about a Mario RPG. I knew they existed. I knew they were relatively popular, but the whole genre jumping thing can just be dangerous. I was proved completely wrong. This was a great game. I did have a few complaints, but they were so outweighed by the positives that it wasn't even really a competition in my mind. I don't know. Luigi danced and my heart sang, and that's enough for me.
No.
And so, yeah, everybody ought to play this game.
All right.
Nolan?
That's not the reason you should play the game. I'll start mine.
It's one of the reasons.
No. Going back to this was great. I still love it. I think that this series, out of all of their RPG type of games, is maybe the best. I think I enjoy it more than Paper Mario. I do love Paper Mario, but it's very gimmicky at times because they have to lean into the paper thing, and I get over it fairly quickly when I'm returning to those games. But this one is not confined by that gimmick. It's a Mario and Luigi game, but it's an RPG, and it's hilarious. I think the pacing, something really interesting about this Mario game too, is that the story beats are given to you as you progress, which in most Mario games is given to you at the beginning, and then you get it at the end. But in this one, the pacing is nice. You should try this game. It's excellent. Play it.
I continue to fall in love with GBA. I so wish that I would have had the console, the handheld console, when I was younger. But man, every game on the GBA impresses me in one way or another, and most of them are immaculate. And this is, I guess I am so clueless when it comes to the Mario expanded universe, the MCU, some would say, because because
Just kidding.
I have no idea that this existed. Like, yeah. I know you should know by now if you've listened to 320 episodes of NGP. Other than really all three of us don't really know much about video games.
Nothing. Yeah.
But I knew Super Mario RPG existed, but honestly, I thought that was the only Mario RPG. I didn't even know Paper Mario was an RPG. And this is enough RPG to kind of tickle my RPG fancy, while still being Mario enough to like be completely distinct from. It does feel pretty childish, this game, not in a negative way, but it's most of the time it's very simplistic. The humor is very low tier, high tier, low brow. I don't know what language I'm using. I enjoyed it all though. I still think it is accessible and approachable for all ages. But it is a more childish Mario title. When you're coming, we talked about Super Mario Galaxy somewhat recently, where that's like a grown-up Mario. He's like, I'm a big boy now. But this one's hilarious. This one's a lot of fun, and I had a lot of fun with it this week. I still never got down the handling of Mario and Luigi out in the platforming sections, but loved the battle segments, loved the humor, and this game was a lot of fun, and I just love the GBA. I think it is such a good handheld console.
So good.
All right, Jay, tie it all up for us.
All right. I always believed that Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga was probably one of the best introductionary RPGs you could play if you are not interested by the genre, or if you're just curious and aren't really sold on the whole turn-based thing. Mm-hmm. This game doesn't give you a single instant to be bored, simply because you're always interacting with the game, trying to protect yourself, trying to attack, trying to explore the map, trying to dodge the enemies. You are always running around. The slapstick humor, like you said, is a bit childish, but it was, to me, the Mario and Luigi franchise is probably the most Mario thing in most of Mario games. The charm, the characters. To me, as a child who grew up with the Super Mario Super Show and all that stuff, honestly, being able to see the Mario Brothers fighting together, working together, without leaving Luigi behind and all that stuff.
Well,
It was probably it was definitely one of my favorite series, and I am really glad that as a child, I picked up that game simply because the artwork on the box looked so damn cool.
it did.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for bringing it to us to play this week. We had a lot of fun
Absolutely.
enjoying it and chatting with you. We know that many of the people from the NGP community, greater community, played as well. We had 414 votes on YouTube. 65% said yes, it's worth playing today. 7% said no, and 28% have never played it before. And then we had many people write in as well, a few of their thoughts. Clint said, game wasn't good enough to get me to stop playing Elden Ring this week, but dang if it's not one of the GBA's best titles. The charm, gameplay, and humor are so good, and once you get the awkward button scheme under control for moving around with the Mario Bros, it's a really unique platforming game. And coming back to it this week was like riding a bike. May the NGP streak continue.
Clint stole my line. I forgot to say in my notes, I've got, if it's good enough to pull me away from Elden Ring for more than 10 minutes, it's excellent. And it did.
All right, guys, you need to officially give it NGP. All right.
All right.
You need to officially.
And then Shane said, this is a lovely game. I've beaten it many times and was happy to return to it this week and beat it again for the podcast. It's a shorter RPG that shares many similarities with Paper Mario and Mario RPG, and yet manages to find a quite significant life of its own. It has a bit of a larger focus on the overworld and platforming than those other two games, I feel, with some of the bros moves you do and some neat mechanics with advancing them and all. It does have a broken strategy or two, which I think were patched in later releases, but I still love it anyways. It's unfortunate the studio fell on hard times. I hope we can still see more from the series in the future. This is certainly a must-play game and hopefully a shoe-in for NGP if Jay can get y'all to rate it.
Well, I guess Jay just did.
He just laid down the gavel and said, "This is what it is."
I mean, it would have been, I guess, if this was a normal.
Oh no! I want you guys to officially say what you think about it.
Well,
I
you
did.
are a little bit past it, Jay. I mean,
It's
yeah,
great.
I would give it my vote if we were doing that.
Of course, I would too.
And Kenny would because of Luigi's dance.
Because all he would say
Luigi
is Luigi
Dance
Plus.
is New Game Plus certified.
Okay.
It's all right, Kenny. It's a valid excuse. It's all right.
Starpoint said, I want to preface this by saying I'm not a huge RPG player. I think that many of the games in this genre are great, but they aren't necessarily my first choice. However, there are some notable exceptions to my opinion, including Mother 3, Paper Mario, Undertale, and this week's game, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. He talks about the button control. He talks about the how the controls are both simplistic but challenging to master. He says certain bosses are genuinely difficult, and if you fail to dodge or hit with good attacks, you'll probably have to fight them several times. There's nothing in here like the Tree Sentinel, but it's a fun and considerable challenge.
What's with all the Elden Ring references?
The graphics and animations are also top of the line. And then he said, definitely recommend this game to everyone. NGP from me.
FromSoft should make the next Mario game.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's the worst idea I've ever heard.
I do think it's important. I do think it's cool what Starpoint said, and I think Jay said it earlier. I do think this is an RPG for non-RPG.
Yeah, I like that. I'll take that, yeah.
It was probably my first RPG. It was probably the first time an RPG stuck with me.
Yeah,
definitely. And now I'm spending 150 hours in Persona 5, so...
Yeah,
and
it's
then
getting entry level.
finally, one of our day ones, Jessie, she wrote in. It's been a while since we've heard from Jessie. And said, this week's game was a fantastic and very welcomed nostalgia bomb for me. And it brought me a lot of joy to dig out my AGS 101 and play my physical media copy. Thank you, Jay, for selecting it. This game definitely triggers a lot of memories for me of what my life was like in 2003 when I had a lot more time to play games. It's Friday as I write this, and I managed to squeeze in 3 hours of playtime this week. But my cart has my original save, and now that I've reminded myself how to play, I'll spend this week trying to move my original incomplete save before I listen to the episode on Monday. Superstar Saga is a really beautiful GBA title that looks good, sounds good, and triggers a lot of endorphins with every successful button press, and that gets you a lucky, super strong hit in battle. The game is generous with perfectly placed save points that really do make it an amazing portable title. There are a lot of great titles on the GBA, so it's hard to pick only one as the best on the platform, but this might be it.
That made me sad because I had more time when I was a kid, and also I wanted to see my completed save too, and I can't even look at it. It hurts.
You just had to stop playing Elden Ring.
Not gonna happen.
I'm playing it right now.
hey, I made some time to finish the game and play Elden Ring.
Nice.
Well, I didn't.
We are going to set aside Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga and randomly select the next retro game of the week from our expansive master list. Randomizing now. We are going to be playing a 2003 action-adventure game developed by Radical Entertainment and published by Vivendi Universal Games. It is based on an American animated sitcom.
Ooh.
What?
Okay.
That sounds terrible.
No, I'm in.
And is the 22nd installment in the franchise.
Of games?
In the franchise's video games.
Nancy Drew.
Oh boy.
We are going to be playing a game that was heavily inspired by the Grand Theft Auto series. It is called, Nolan, The Simpsons
Hit and Run.
Hit and Run.
The game rules.
No way.
The game rules. And
No.
y'all don't even know. Like it. Actually, y'all might be really stupid about it.
Oh, Kenny.
I can see y'all being both really dumb about it. Do y'all like Simpsons #1? Okay. Don't show up next weekend. Just Dustin.
This game is wild.
Nolan's just solo recording an episode next week.
Yes, Dustin, don't show up. I'm
game.
serious.
I respect Simpsons. I respect
Okay.
Simpsons.
All right.
All right. So find a copy of The Simpsons Hit and Run. I didn't even say what console it was on. I guess
is
it was
it
on
GameCube?
GameCube, PlayStation 2, Xbox. They were all released then. Oh, and PC.
Yeah,
So-
what was it submitted on? Like
I would have to go back.
Okay.
But yeah, so find a copy of The Simpsons Hit and Run and play it along with us this week.
Join us in Discord as we'll be discussing this episode that we just recorded as well as the upcoming game. I have thoughts about it, and if you do too, I want to hear from you. I need some help here. So go to discord.gg/newgameplus.
We obviously love our community and want to say thank you to them. I guess it's not obvious. Some people have communities and don't love them. We are not those people. And we'll just start because Jay is right here. Having his director episode with acknowledging our directors. So, Jay, thank you so much for hopping on, for coming on, sharing your thoughts, for bringing us this super fun game. We really, really appreciate it. We also want to shout out Clint, Garlisle, and Brojim, who are directors as well, and our growing list of producers that we are so thankful for. If you want to be them, hit up patreon.com and support New Game Plus and what we do. Those people include the following: Marlene, Antonin, Astrosoul, Ben, Bob Barker, Brunt, Carrie, Captain Protein, Dan, Francesca, Gimbin, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Knickknack, Corey, Maxima, Mr. Lattes, Nawal, Sajan, Secret Duck of Evermore, Shauna Thomas, Unbelievable, William, Diane. Thank you guys so much for your support, and we appreciate it.
And you can find us on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. All of those links are in the show notes. You will want to stay glued to our social media because we've got some exciting things coming up in the coming weeks.
It's true.
Listened directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode was edited and produced by our good friend Dan Willett. And on this episode, we had our friend and director Jay. Jay, do you want them to find you online? And if so, where?
Honestly, I don't have a very active social media or activity or anything. I don't even have a podcast, but
Jay's in
maybe one
Discord.
day. Yes,
That's
I'm
right.
on
Hop in
Discord.
Discord.
anyone is welcome to just send me a hello on Discord. I'll be more than happy to talk about
Wholesome.
games and stuff.
Join us next week as we play The Simpsons Hit and Run. Until then, I'm still the guy in green.
And I'm still dancing.
Kenny's Krusty the Clown.
And I have Fury.
And this has been New Game Plus.